So then you tell me, Buzz, that you like John Lennon and you like rock and roll music. Well, I've got a perfect album for you in here. John Lennon's Rock and Roll. Complete album of John Lennon singing rock and roll music, mate. You should like this then. Not gonna lie, I don't much. So, hello, and yes, welcome back to another album review, guys. Today, we're going to have John Lennon's Rock and Roll. Yeah, I'm not too excited about this. Why am I doing this? Why, if I'm not too excited about it? Well, for those of you who have been keeping up to date with my Lennon reviews, I done the 3 Yoko ones. I done the Sometime in New York City, I done a Double Fancy, and I done a Milk and Honey, which I don't have in the background, so I can't point at it. But yeah, I done those 3, and then I said now I'm going to go and do his solo stuff. And I thought, I'll work my way backwards, because I didn't want to start with Plastic Ono Band and do Imagine, because those albums have been talked about to death, so I thought it'd be more fun to do Rock and Roll, then I'll do Walls and Bridges, then I'll do Mind Games, and then we'll finally get to Imagine and Plastic Ono Band. But it means getting through this album first, and this is the one album of Lennon's which I don't really enjoy when it comes to him on his own. So yeah, we're going to brave our way through it, guys. Again, this is my opinion. I know that there's a lot of Beatle fans, a lot of Lennon fans who probably do enjoy this album. And that's fine. This is just me expressing my opinion on it. But before we get down to the actual review at hand, a couple quick things I want to quickly say. Number one, for those of you who are on Instagram, for those of you who like Instagram, I'm now on Instagram. So if you want to come and see what I'm doing, I'm sure not many of you do. But if you do, there's a link in the description below. So if you're on Instagram, make sure you follow me, because I'm going to be posting stuff. And if you want to keep up to date with what I'm doing, you can do that. Also, my Twitter's in there if you really, really want to follow me. Also, the quality of my videos might be changing soon. I know the camera which I'm using sometimes goes out of focus, and the editing software is not great. Hence why my album ranking board that we're going to see in a bit is awful. Also, in terms of editing, there's not much editing going on here in the channel. Hopefully next week I'm getting a new laptop. I'm going from a crappy old Microsoft laptop to an Apple Mac. So I'm getting a much better computer, I'll have much better software, and that will have a really good camera on, I'm hoping, so I don't have to keep using this one. So yeah, the quality of the video should hopefully be getting better as well, but it's going to take me some time to get used to it, so I apologise if the videos change a little bit in the next month or so. But anyway, now I've said all that, you guys are up to date on me. Let's get down to the review. So yeah, I'm going to give a bit of information on the album. We're going to go over each track individually, mark each track individually out of 10. Then I'm going to show you my copy of the vinyl record, and we're going to mark the artwork for this album out of 10. Then we're going to take all the scores given, divide it by the total number of scores, add them up, divide it by the total number of scores given, and that'll give us an overall marking for this album out of 10. But we won't be done there, because when we're done, we're going to head over to the album ranking board, put it on there and see where it ranks compared to other albums I've reviewed here on this channel. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So this was Lennon's 6th studio album. Technically 5th if you don't want to count the Lennon Ono one. Released on the 17th of February 1975, hitting number 6 in both the UK and America. Now the album was recorded. It was released in 1975, but it actually went into recording in 1973. After his split with Yoko, John went into the studio to record this album, and let's say the sessions were a complete mess. He was hanging out with Harry Nilsson. There was so much drinking going on, a lot of drugs. There's a lot of stories from these sessions. Someone spilt a drink over one of the mixing boards. They got banned. They got chucked out of this recording studio. Also, a gun went off, fired at the ceiling in one of them, which nearly permanently damaged Lennon's hearing. Phil Spector was meant to be producing the album, and he just vanished halfway through. Not ideal. So yeah, it was a complete mess. Also, Lennon was being sued at the time by Maurice Levy. I think that's how you say his surname. Apologise if I'm doing it wrong. And, you know, as part of the agreement, Lennon said he'd cover 3 songs which he owned on this album. So he also had that on his mind. He was being sued for a line in the song Come Together. So yeah, anyway, eventually Lennon, you know, he went to another studio. got a much better band, and actually made the album Walls and Bridges, which was a lot better. It's a lot cleaner album. We'll get to talking about that one another day. Anyway, and he put one of Maurice Levy's songs on it, and he threatened to sue Lennon again, because he was like, no, I wanted it on your rock and roll album. I wanted it on your entire covers album. So anyway, Lennon picked the album back up, went back into the studio to record a lot of it, because a lot of it was missing because of Phil Spector. They re-recorded a lot of the songs with his new band. Klaus Voormann was in the band. That's one of the names I remember. Jim Keltner, of course, as well, I believe. Lennon produced it this time, and they done the 3 songs for Maurice Levy. Did I say John Levy a minute ago? I meant Maurice Levy. Apologise if I said it wrong. So yeah, and then eventually the album was put out in 1975, but this album was a complete mess. In terms of production, you can hear half the songs on this album are almost unfinished. They're from 2 different sessions, you can really hear it. Some of them are actually unlistenable, I'd say, because the production on them is so bad, you can hear that John's not on full form on some of them. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting album in terms of backstory. In terms of music, it's the opposite. It's just not interesting at all. So anyway, we'll get onto the songs, because the album generally doesn't start off bad. We start off with, of course, a very famous cover. And a lot of these songs, I want to say, John also grew up with. These are songs which John loved. They're ones which him and the Beatles used to perform in the early days as well. Back in Hamburg as well, like the opening track, which I was just about to mention, Bebop-A-Lula. The Beatles used to cover that a lot in their early days. So a lot of this is very sentimental. They're all very sentimental songs for John. It's him going back to his childhood. So I get why John wanted to do this. It's just a shame that circumstances, he was in a very rough place when he was doing this album. But then again, better him being in a rough place for covers than original material, because Lennon's original material is always more interesting to me than when he covers songs. So anyway, let's get into it. Bebop-A-Lula. It is a good starting song, to be fair. It sets the tone of the album in a good way and a bad way. It sets the tone that it is going to be a very generic rock and roll, la-di-da-di-da type album. And it also gives you the message that it is going to be a messy album, because the production on this song is awful. I think this is a song which did definitely come from the first sessions and then get messed about with during the second sessions as well, because you can tell that some of the instruments are on, it's almost like they're not lining up with other instruments. There's bits, if you really listen, where it just sounds discombobulated. But the piano sounds great, I want to say. I love the piano on this. Lennon's vocals are really good on this song, because as much as I love John Lennon, because I really do, he's one of my very favourite musicians. Lennon is, he's a legend. He's a god in my mind. But he doesn't sing great on this whole album, as we'll see. But this is one of the songs where he does sing really well. I'm going to give this song a 6 out of 10. It's a good opener, but there's no doubt it's not a song that I'm going to want to go back to much, because the production on it is just not. It's just not good. Then we get a cover. Oh, a cover. They're all covers. Don't know why I said that. And we get "Stand By Me," which of course is a Benny King song. Spoke too fast there. Benny King song, and it's incredible. I love the original to bits. The original is a 10 out of 10 song. It's absolutely incredible. How well does Lennon cover it? This is the best song on the album. Yeah, I had you all thinking then. This is easily the best song on the album. And there's no surprise to that to people who don't know this album, because this song actually does appear on some of the Lennon compilations. So it was actually acknowledged as a good song. It's a good cover. Love that Lennon sung it in his own style. He didn't copy the kind of relaxed way that Benny King sung it. Lennon done it in a very new, original style. The song sounded very different. The drums on this song are really good. The acoustic guitar sounds just brilliant. It sounds amazing. The way it comes in is fantastic. And then I love how the keyboard piano just kind of comes in as well, and then slowly builds. And then we hit the chorus and the drums kick in and the song just comes alive more. Oh, the instrument arrangement on this song is fantastic. And that is the only song I can say that about on this whole album. The production on it is actually really good. I'm going to take a guess and say Lennon produced this one, because it's really good, because I really feel like Phil Spector probably didn't care. when he was doing it back in 73, 74. Whereas Lennon, you know, I can imagine that he put a bit more effort in because it's his album here, and he knew it was a mess. But the production on this song, what the producer did to this song is fantastic. It sounds really good. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And we move on to Rip It Up, Ready Teddy, which is a much faster moving track, of course, for those of you who know the original. And it's a very bog standard, forgettable nothingness track on this album. It does absolutely nothing for me, really. Nothing stands out on this song at all. It all flows together and then it's over. It's very short. Like, just so short. It's like they could have easily put a nice little guitar solo in there or something, just to make the song feel a bit more fully structured. Nothing. Lennon's vocals are okay. The scream bit that he does in it's awful though. The sax is really overwhelming. It's not a good song. But it's not one of the worst songs I've heard on this. It's not one of the worst songs on this album, though, that's for sure. It's just very forgettable, very bland. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Then we move on to a bad cover. You Can't Catch Me, which of course is originally by the rock and roll king. I know people who say Elvis, but you know, in my mind, it was Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry is the great rock and roller, in my opinion. And Lennon's vocals at the start of this song are not very good, but they improve as the song goes on. His vocals get a lot better in the chorus, actually, I'll say. But it's just not it's a very flat song, I think. It's really messy again. It really reminds me of Bebopalula, where the instruments, it sounds like half of them are on different paths. It's just like there's not much communication going on in the band here. It's just not a good effort, this song. It's just not good to listen to. It's just not fun. It's just messy. And at times it hurts my ears. I'm going to give it a 3. Then we get Ain't That a Shame, which of course is a Fats Domino song. And it has a good build to it. It's too quick. The start of it, you know, builds up really well, but it's just too quick. I wish he'd spent a bit more time on that. But I know, again, you've got to keep to the song. It's not his song. But, you know, mess about with the instruments. You know, you can make it work. Good vocals, but I don't like the style that Lennon picks to sing in here. You know, I understand that he's doing a good vocal performance. I just wish he'd pick maybe a different style to sing this song in. The sax just comes and goes whatever it wants. I think it's hilarious, actually, listening to this song. The sax just randomly pops up in certain places in the song, and it's just like, oh, okay, it's here again, and it just vanishes again. It's like, it doesn't come in at the chorus and then end at the end of the chorus. It just kind of comes and goes when it wants. It's quite funny. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Then we got Do You Wanna Dance, which is originally by Bobby Freeman, but was made very famous here in the UK, at least, by an artist who I'm not a fan of, and that's Cliff Richard. I know Cliff Richard very well, because my nan went to school with him, and she's obsessed with him. So I know Cliff Richard very well, and I know that he made this song very famous here in the UK. I actually like Cliff Richard's version more. I love the chorus of Cliff Richard's one, where he sings it a lot faster, and I know that the original does this as well, but I'm just used to Cliff's version. Sings it a lot faster. Do you wanna dance? You know, he does it. Whereas Lennon's is a lot more chilled. It's do you want to dance? So you can. It's a. I respect Lennon for going his own way, making it his own, but the song does work better, faster. There's no doubt. But again, it's just not Lennon's best vocals on this song. But the production is good. And slowing down the chorus, I think, gives me more respect for this song, because it makes it unique compared to other versions of it. So I'm going to give it a 5. I'm going to be fair. It's okay. Then we get Sweet Little 16, which is another Chuck Berry song, and I just don't think John Lennon should have been covering. I'll get my words out. Chuck Berry songs, because like the start, like You Can't Catch Me, sorry. It just doesn't work very well. It's very messy. But I do like the start of this song. but then it just becomes a bit of a bore. And Lennon's vocals range from him being awake, and they go from being quite lively, like in the chorus, to him being asleep throughout the verses, which is a real shame. It's just a bad cover again. I'm going to give this song a 3 out of 10. So then we move on to side 2, where it opens up with Slippin' and a Slidin'. And it's a decent cover. I like the song, actually. The piano and the sax go really well together. Again, it kind of reminded me of Stand By Me, where the piano was working really well with the acoustic guitar. They're actually playing off each other really well. Lennon's vocals are better. The pauses in the song make the song flow so much better. This is what I mean. This song has a lot of character to it. Whereas none of the other songs on this album really do, other than Stand By Me and maybe Bebop Lula. Yeah, it flows a lot better, this song. It's a lot more fun. Even the sax solo is okay. I'll give this song a 6. I'll be kind. It's an okay song. Then we get Peggy Sue, which of course is a Buddy Holly song, and I absolutely love Buddy Holly, and I love this original song. And Lennon brings a lot more life to this song in a way. I don't think it's as good as the original, no way. But it's nice to hear a more complete version of the song. There's a lot more going on in Lennon's version than there was in Buddy Holly's. I wish Lennon had experimented more with the vocals like he does in the second verse. The second verse of this song is great. Lennon tries to do his Buddy Holly a bit. It's somewhere in the middle of Buddy Holly and John Lennon. I wish he'd gone full Buddy Holly just to see what it sounded like. But if it was bad, then fair enough. I'm not going to complain. But I wish he'd sung more like what he did in the second verse, because I think it made the song more unique and it sounded quite good. Overall, though, it really is just an okay song. It's very bog standard and it's alright. I'll give it a 5. Then we get a track called Bring It On Home To Me, Send Me Some Lovin', which has a pretty cool start to the song. But it's just like Rip It Up Ready Teddy. I don't know what it is when he does these 2-part songs. It's just, they're very bland. Nothing happens. It's just, nothing stands out about it. The whole song just flows together. It's like you can't pick out the chorus from the verses. Well, you can because of the way he sings it, but in terms of the instruments and whatnot, it's just nothing happens. It's just not a song I like. I just don't like this one very much. I'm going to give it a 3. Then we get Boney Maroney, which has a cool guitar to it, which I really like. And I really like the raw Lennon vocals, because I know he does a lot of raw vocals on this album, and they don't sound great with a lot of the other songs, but they sound really good with this song because of the guitar work, I think. It just sounds really good. Yeah, it's okay. Well-produced song. I'll give it a 5. It's okay. Then we get Ya Ya, which is a much fun, more fast upbeat version than the version we got on Walls and Bridges, because the version on Walls and Bridges was like 50 seconds long anyway, so at least this is a proper 2 whatever minute version of the song here. However, it is quite annoying, not gonna lie. The tune gets old really fast. Even Lennon's vocals get a bit boring almost, because it's just so I don't know, just a bit annoying. I'll give it a 4. It's very meh. And then we got a song called Just Because, which is a slower track, which is nice. It's like, since Stand By Me, it's the only song which kind of comes out of that typical, the typical rock and roll sound. I know that's what this album is, so I know people are going to slaughter me for that comment. But it is nice to come out of it and have a bit more of a chilled song. And I love hearing Lennon start talking at the start of the film about how old he was when the song comes out. He was joking. He was like, well, I must have been, forget what age he said. I think it was 16 and 17 maybe. And then all of a sudden he just like, or maybe it was 22. I find that quite funny. And it's an okay song. It's, again, very average. Kind of how I feel about Peggy Sue. It's just there. It's alright. I respect it. It's alright. So I'll give it a 5. Let's take a look at the record then. So I got my original here, not my one from my box set. My one from the box set is also the one that repeats Sweet Little 16 twice. Instead of You Can't Catch Me, you've got Sweet Little 16 there again. So that's pretty cool. I kept it in the box because I thought it was kind of unique. I've also got the MFP pressing up here, Rock and Roll. which you can tell is just the title's different. But anyway, I really love this cover, taken in Hamburg, back when the Beatles played. But that is the only thing I like about the design of this. The back cover's awful. Just don't like it at all. And, you know, you don't even get an inner sleeve with this one. And then you've got the Apple label. Last record for Lennon on Apple, other than the Shaved Fishes compilation, of course. Which is bingo. But yeah, I'll give the artwork for this a 6. And that is all going towards the cover, because I love the cover to this album. Great photo. Everything else about this album, cover, artwork sucks. So yeah, I've added up all of them. Scores, including the artwork, divided it by however many scores given, and this album out of 10 is going to get a 4.8. So yeah, not too high for this album, but nonetheless, let's head over to the album ranking board, put it on there so we can see where it ranks compared to other albums I've reviewed here on this channel. So here we are, back over to the famous album ranking board. So all I'm going to do is take a quick scroll down here, so you can see albums which I think are better, and in what order I think are better than John Lennon's Rock and Roll. Nearly said Walls and Bridges then. Quite a few. And then there it is. Now it has managed to beat out a whopping 3 albums. And then yeah, you can see another Lennon album there. So we'll get some really good albums from Lennon now, because we're on to a couple of my favourites, and then we'll get to some real amazing albums in a little bit when we get to Imagine and Plastic Ono Band. But for right now, Lennon's not doing hot on my list, but hey, he's still doing decent. And so yes, that is it for this album review, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, I know I was a bit negative on this one, and I know some people are going to really like it because it's John Lennon and he was in the Beatles. But for me, it's just a very average album. It's a tad below average, as you can see. There's good bits on it, that's for sure, but there's a lot of filler, a lot of bland material on there for me. It's still better than McCartney's Russian album. However, I think McCartney comes back strong with Run Devil Run, but we'll get to those albums on this channel. We'll get to them. But anyway, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this album. And before I head off, one more time, don't forget, guys, if you're on Instagram or whatever, I know I'm probably getting on your nerves, but you know, there's a link in the description if you are on there. And there's also a link to my Twitter, my other YouTube channel, blah blah blah. And if you want to subscribe to this one, make sure you do so. Also like the video and leave a message, and I will see you guys next time for another video.